What's up everybody, BioBen here, back with another video. So today, it's Monday, I premiered my 24 hours of Daytona in 24 minutes video, and it did really well. Thanks guys for stopping by the premiere. That was really awesome. It's always cool to share this stuff with you guys and actually get feedback and have people tell me that it looks cool. One of the things you guys really liked was I did some mixed reality. Trying to keep out of trouble here. Where in the background I had the perspective shot of it looking like I was inside the cockpit, and we had moving images behind me looking out the side of the car so you could see as we passed cars. So today I thought I would do a tutorial on how I did that. So this needs to be prefaced with several things. I am not a video editing expert. I'm scientist and I know science. I think I'm kind of smart, and I figured out a quick and dirty way to do this. I'm not necessarily sure it's the proper way to do it, but it works roughly, and so it's the way I've been doing it. You're gonna need a few things if you want to try this. I'm going to assume you have these things or have access to them and have a rudimentary knowledge of video editing, especially working with green screens, because that is a whole other tutorial in and of itself, and I'm not an expert there either. So what you're going to need is, in my case, Project Cars 2. I only know that this works in Project Cars 2 right now. I haven't done it in anything else. It's theoretically possible, I think, but it relies on a few factors. So Project Cars 2 is where I've been doing it. You're going to need a webcam. So if I turn on my camera here, you can see I have my webcam here, and I hook my webcam up to my laptop and record there. It's not quite as good, and occasionally it has issues, but I like to offload that processing onto a different machine. You could theoretically do it on the game capture PC, but it causes some complications because we really want these as two separate files. So you're going to need your game capture PC. You're going to need a green screen. So behind me is my green screen, and green screen lighting is a whole other ball game. I have just some rudimentary lights going on there. It's not really ideal, but it works. You're going to need a VR headset. So at the moment there's no way getting around the need for VR. Essentially what VR does is it gives us a free camera, which is what we need to get that perspective shot. And yeah, then you're going to need some editing software that can edit this, and of course you're going to need a way to capture that footage, which I'm assuming you can do on your PC. If you're making videos, you probably already have that down. So those are the tools that I'm using. Obviously I got my steering wheel here. That's just, whatever. You could do this any way you want. Alright, so let's get into the details of it. Alright, so the video editing software I'm going to be using is DaVinci Resolve 15. This is free. It's currently what I'm using, and I'm going to show you how to do all of this using that software. It's possible to do this in other software, but I don't know how, so you'll have to figure that out yourself. If you know how to key a green screen, you should be able to do it, though. So, essentially the process is broken down into, let's call it 6 steps, maybe a few more. But basically, what we need to do is we need to record race footage. So we need to record with the webcam. That's what you're on right here. And then the game capture itself, so the actual in-car footage or whatever's coming out of your headset. That's where separating them onto 2 different machines for capture helps me, because then I can separate those files. We need them separate. You could theoretically do it 2 separate files on the same machine, maybe OBS and Shadowplay. I haven't tried that. That would be weird, but You could theoretically do it all in one, but it'll make keying the green screen more difficult. So having two separate files is useful. That's step one. Step two is very important. You need to, after that event, save the in-game replay footage. This is what we're going to use to get the perspective shots. You have to do that. Don't forget to do that. I've done it. It sucks. You do a whole thing and then you can't get your perspective. The in-game replay is what we're going to use, and we're going to use our VR headset actually as a free camera to record the proper perspective that our webcam gave us. So I'm kind of at like a 3/4 angle, not fully to the side, not fully head on. So I'm going to have to position my headset to that angle to get the camera. We're then going to film that right in the cockpit, and that's the hardest part, is getting the right perspective. You're then going to import those three pieces of footage, the onboard, the webcam, and the background perspective shot, into your video editor. You need to make sure all three tracks are synced up. It's very important to do clap syncs to make sure you have a reference point that you can sync all the tracks. Also, some on-track reference, because you might not have a audio reference for the perspective footage that you get to put on the green screen. So like crossing a finish line, or you could, at the end of the race, you could run into a wall on the cooldown lap or something like that. Some key moment that'll give you a reference point. You're going to import them in, make sure they're synced up. Then you're going to key out the green screen, replace it with the perspective shot, combine them all, render it. Something's going to happen, upload it to YouTube, and then profit, right? Not quite that simple. But yeah, that's basically the step-by-step guide. So let's go do it. Okay, so we're in Project Cars 2 in VR. We are going to use an open cockpit car. This is going to make it easiest for us. We're going to run a 1-lap race. We need to be able to save a replay, so it's got to be a session that can have replays saved. Cockpit reset button, or your headset reset button mapped. I have it to spacebar. That's easiest. Now, here's a key point. I like to have the onboard wheel on, but when we go to record the perspective footage, you're going to want the onboard wheel and driver off. So right now I just have it off. It's going to look a little funky. Giant turbo monster here, and I have no sound, so I don't know what's going on, so bear with me. Alright, so we're doing our lap. Normally we'd be looking around in VR. It would be super cool. Everybody's going to love your racing prowess, of course. Alright, last corner here. Okay, so we've recorded our race essentially. We come across the line. I'm capturing my screen with shadow play. So yeah, we come across the line. We can skip our cooldown. So then we need to go to view replay and save our replay. That's critical. That is the most important step in this process. Okay, so now that we got the replay saved, here's where the magic happens. So we have those two pieces of footage. You have the webcam with me, the driver, driving here with my wheel, with my green screen in the background. You have the onboard footage here. This would normally be me looking around like a goofball while I'm racing. That's the in-race footage. So what we're going to do is, we're going to go to the start of this. Using our VR headset, we're going to do a very janky setup. We need to get approximately the same angle that we had for our webcam. So what we need to do is, if I can try and do this, so I'm holding this VR headset in my hands, and there's my webcam here. basically what I'm going to need to do is center the camera here and then move it over and turn it so that the perspective is looking out of the cockpit side. So I don't have enough hands to do this. Okay, so I'm going to lower this, reset it, so that's centered, and now I can set it down. That's probably like even too high or too low, so I'm going to lower it even more, recenter, and maybe even raise it up. Basically, you need to get the headset on a stable platform. So we need the headset stable and in the correct orientation, at least roughly. So there you can see I have the headset facing that way. I have my sensors set up so that they can actually see it. This is not how I would normally run it. I have a sensor on the side so it can detect it. So yeah, that's that. We now capture our race footage of this. So we're going to want to, okay, so we're off. We're moving. Obviously, this isn't a perfect perspective. This is the hardest part, getting the perspective right. And you have to do a lot of trial and error of moving the headset around and then moving it to a stable platform and putting it there to get the perspective properly. Basically, if you line it up with your webcam, though, and start out, with it going forward, and level, it should line up roughly correctly. It's a bit finicky, and some cars you end up clipping through the windshield, or there's roll cage things. Actually, right-hand drive cars are actually the easiest to do it with for my setup because my webcam's on the left. If I had it mirrored, left-hand drive cars would be easier. Okay, so there's our lap. We're done with that. Okay, so now we've collected our footage. Now we need to go edit it. Okay, so we have our green screen footage. We have our perspective shot, and we have our onboard here. So let's kind of clean up the onboard here. Okay. So they're going to roughly be in the correct perspective or area. I'm not going to sync them because that's boring. But basically, you would line up the clap syncs on all of them. Normally, I record this as a separate bit. Anyways. Okay, so what we need to do is take our webcam here and our perspective shot here, and we need to combine them. So we're going to take the green screen here and we're going to key it out and replace it with that perspective. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight both of those and go to New Fusion Clip. That essentially combines them. And Fusion is the kind of visual effects editor in DaVinci Resolve. So we have our 2 bits of footage. That's media in 1 is our perspective shot, and media in 2 is good old me over there. And they're going to be merged. We're going to do this, and we're going to use a mat. We're going to use the Delta keyer and drag it over here. So what this is going to do is going to take this and key the color we give it. So this is where lighting was critical. Basically, you need to have your green screen lit well and wrinkle free to get the keying working well. You may notice that my wardrobe will no longer include any greens when I use the green screen, because otherwise it'll key out that. But even any sort of like reflected light off the green screen can sometimes make my hair look green, and then it gets keyed out, so part of my head's missing. It looks a little funky, but whatever, man. I'm not a professional. I'm just an amateur, so I'm doing my best. So as you can see, the perspective's close. It's not perfect. If I was really doing this, I would have spent more time getting it correct. You can sit there and take screenshots and then kind of drag them over to this footage and do that. I haven't done that yet, but that's a way that maybe you could line it up before you actually start capturing. But yeah, if we go in and we look, you can see here I am driving theoretically, and the footage behind me in a second here is moving, and look, it's like I'm in the car. So that is basically the process. So then I'm going to stop that. We go back to our edit. We take this fusion clip and I'm going to transform it. We'll make it smaller. We'll stick it down here in the corner, and theoretically we can play all these together, and obviously it's trying to render and I'm recording all at the same time, but you have your webcam down there, you have your onboard right there, and that is how you do your mixed reality. So that's that. You're going to render it. There's some other things in there, like in Fusion, sometimes I will box off part of the table or the wheel to keep that reflected light from keying it out. Sometimes I'll go basically frame by frame and keep parts of my head from being cut off, at least for part of the video, like the early part that most people are going to watch. So at least it looks nice for that. And then anybody that sticks around is probably willing to allow that I don't have time to do frame by frame for 20 minutes of video. So yeah, it's a quick and dirty method to get mixed reality into your racing. Like I said, there's not really a way to do this live because you have to do those two separate shots. You have to record the race and then you have to do your perspective shot. I don't think there's a way to do that live at the moment unless you could get two different cameras in game, which I don't believe you can. But anyways, if you can figure that out, you are smarter than me, which isn't too hard, but there you go. So yeah, I hope that helps. If you have questions, shoot me a comment down below. I hope you like the mixed reality stuff. I think it's pretty cool. It definitely adds to the render time and just the whole overall process time. You have your race and then you have to record the whole thing again. So like if you do a 20-minute race, you're going to be recording 20 minutes of perspective shot after that. So it doubles the time that it takes to capture, and then editing, you have to key it and do all that and line up 3 pieces of footage. It's just a bit of extra work, and learning this, obviously it took quite a bit of time. Never done anything like this before, so yeah, but I think it's worth it, and you guys seem to have liked it, so that's why I did this. I have to go edit this now. I have no idea how I'm going to do it because basically I have to edit a video of me editing a video, which is something I've never done. It's like editception right now. So hopefully you like this. Hopefully it turned out well. Hopefully you hit that like button. Smash that notification bell. I'm going to be one of those guys. Smash it. Smash. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.